I was trapped in a snowstorm with my strict boss, and one night changed everything. Snowflake read the storm didn't just trap me in the mountains. It trapped me with the one person I feared the most, my boss. Snow slammed against the windshield like shards of glass, the road ahead disappearing into a blinding white void. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, my breath shallow, my heart pounding louder than the howling wind outside. Beside me sat the man who had made my life a living nightmare for the past 2 years, cold, disciplined, and completely unreadable. And now there was no escape. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that even the coldest hearts can change, take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs a little hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything. We had been on a routine business trip, nothing unusual. I was just his assistant, someone he barely acknowledged except to criticize. Every mistake, every delay, every tiny imperfection, he noticed all of it. To him, I was never good enough. And to me, he was nothing more than a strict, unapproachable boss who treated people like machines. But that night, everything changed. The snowstorm came out of nowhere. One moment the sky was gray, the next it was chaos. The roads became impossible to navigate, and eventually the car refused to move any further. The engine stalled, buried halfway in snow. The silence that followed was suffocating. We were stuck. Hours passed, and the temperature inside the car dropped dangerously low. My fingers went numb, my body shivering uncontrollably. Fear slowly crept into my chest. This wasn't just inconvenience anymore, this was survival. He broke the silence first, not with anger, not with criticism, but with calm instructions. He told me to conserve energy, to stay awake, to keep moving my fingers and toes. His voice, usually sharp and intimidating, was steady, almost reassuring. It was the first time I heard something human in it. Eventually, we realized staying in the car wasn't an option. There was an old cabin a short distance away, barely visible through the storm. Reaching it felt like walking through a nightmare. Wind pushed us back, the snow blinded us, and every step felt heavier than the last. I nearly collapsed twice, but each time he held my arm firmly, refusing to let me fall. We made it inside. The cabin was small, dusty, and abandoned, but it was shelter. We blocked the broken windows as best as we could, gathered whatever wood we found, and managed to start a weak fire. The warmth was faint, but it was enough to keep us alive. That night, sitting across from the fire, something shifted. Silence between us was no longer hostile. It was heavy, filled with things unsaid. I watched him carefully, noticing details I had never paid attention to before. The exhaustion in his eyes, the way his hands slightly trembled from the cold, the quiet tension in his shoulders, like he was carrying something far heavier than just responsibility. For the first time, he didn't look like a boss. He looked human. As the hours passed, my strength began to fade. The cold had drained me more than I realized. My head felt light, my vision blurred, and before I knew it, I collapsed. That's when everything truly changed. I don't remember much from that moment, but I remember waking up later, wrapped in his coat, sitting close to the fire. He had stayed awake the entire time, making sure the flames didn't die out. His expression when he noticed I was conscious again wasn't cold or distant, it was relief. He didn't say much, but his actions spoke louder than words ever could. He gave me the warmer side of the cabin. He made sure I ate the little food we had. He kept checking if I was okay, even when I insisted I was fine. And slowly, the walls I had built around my heart began to crack. The storm continued for 2 days that felt like a lifetime. With nothing else to do, we started talking not as boss and employee, but as two people trying to survive. At first, the conversations were simple, basic, safe, but then they became deeper. He told me about his past, about the pressure he had faced his entire life, about how he had to grow up too fast, take responsibility too early, and never show weakness. He said that in his world, emotions were seen as distractions and mistakes were unforgivable. That's why he was so strict, not because he didn't care, but because he cared too much about perfection. And in that moment, I realized something painful. He wasn't trying to hurt me, he was trying to protect himself. For the first time, I saw him not as someone cruel, but as someone broken, and somehow that changed everything. I started sharing my own story, my struggles, my insecurities, the constant feeling of not being enough, no matter how hard I tried. I told him how his words had affected me, how his cold behavior made me doubt myself every single day. He didn't interrupt, he didn't defend himself, he just listened. And when I finished, he looked at me with something I had never seen before in his eyes. Regret. That night, something unspoken passed between us. It wasn't sudden love or dramatic realization. It was softer than that. Deeper, it was understanding. The storm outside slowly began to calm, but inside the cabin something else had already changed. By the third day, rescue finally arrived. The world returned to normal, but we didn't. Back at work, everything felt different. He was still disciplined, still focused, still the same person everyone feared. But with me there was a subtle shift. He spoke with more patience. He listened more. He acknowledged my efforts. And for the first time since I started working there, I felt seen. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The connection we had built in that cabin didn't disappear, it grew. Slowly, carefully, like something fragile that neither of us wanted to break. He started trusting me with more responsibilities, not as a test, but as belief. And I started believing in myself. The fear I once felt around him was replaced with something unexpected, respect, and maybe something more. But it wasn't easy. Feelings like that don't come without complications. The line between professional and personal blurred, and both of us knew it. There were moments of hesitation, moments where we pulled back, unsure of what we were becoming, because the truth was, we were no longer the same people who got trapped in that storm. We had changed. One evening, months later, as I was about to leave the office, it started snowing again. For a moment, everything froze. The memories came rushing back. The fear, the silence, the fire, the conversations. And then I saw him standing near the window, watching the snow fall. Our eyes met. And in that silent moment, without words, we both understood something. That storm hadn't just been a disaster. It had been a turning point. A beginning. Not everything in life breaks you. Sometimes, the things that trap you are the same things that set you free. If this story touched your heart even a little, take a moment to like, share, and comment. Tell me what you felt, what you think, and where you're watching this from, because your voice matters more than you realize. And before you go, leave a comment right now. Have you ever had a moment in life that completely changed how you see someone? Because sometimes, it only takes one night to change everything. Red.